Most people believe you need more land to make more money in farming. More acres, more equipment, more animals. But what if the opposite were true? What if a carefully designed backyard farm could outperform a 100-acre operation, not because it's bigger, but because it's smarter? Across the country, small landowners are quietly building highly efficient systems that generate more income per square foot than traditional farms ever could per acre. They aren't competing in commodity markets. They aren't trying to outproduce industrial agriculture, they're outpositioning it. This isn't about squeezing animals into tight spaces or chasing unrealistic numbers. It's about stacking enterprises, controlling margins, and eliminating unnecessary inputs. Because here's the hard truth most small farmers eventually learn: scale alone doesn't create profit. Efficiency does. A 100-acre farm running commodity cattle might gross impressive numbers, but once you subtract feed, equipment payments, fuel, fencing, veterinary bills, land taxes, and labor, the margins shrink fast. The system is heavy. It requires constant input just to stay operational. Now compare that to a half-acre system designed for direct-to-consumer sales. Instead of selling bulk beef into a price-controlled market, imagine selling specialty eggs, premium meat rabbits, microgreens, compost products, and niche livestock, all pre-sold to customers who value scarcity and quality. Suddenly, the math changes. When you shift from volume-based farming to margin-based farming, land size becomes less important than system design. Let's break this down logically. A traditional farm often operates horizontally. One enterprise spread across large acreage. More pasture, more hay ground, more fencing. A backyard high-efficiency farm operates vertically. Multiple complementary enterprises layered in the same footprint. Waste from one system feeds another. Space is reused, revenue streams overlap, cash flow cycles shorten. This is how small land starts outperforming big land. Take a quarter-acre backyard. Instead of grass lawn, it becomes rotational pens for rabbits. Above them, quail cages producing high-value eggs weekly. Below, compost systems processing manure into sellable soil amendments. Nearby, a small black soldier fly setup converting kitchen scraps into protein feed, cutting feed bills by 30 to 50%. None of these require 100 acres, but together they create something powerful: stacked profit density. And here's the psychological shift that matters most. Large farms often chase production. Small efficient farms chase margin. If you sell 1 cow per acre, you need acres. If you sell $8 quail eggs every week to repeat customers, you need relationships. That's a different game. And the people winning right now aren't necessarily the biggest producers. They're the best positioned. Over the next sections, we're going to break down exactly how a backyard system can be structured to outperform large acreage farms, what enterprises stack best together, realistic revenue expectations, and the biggest mistakes that kill small land profitability. If you're serious about building income without scaling debt, without chasing commodity pricing, and without needing hundreds of acres, make sure you're subscribed. This channel is about low input systems, smart positioning, and building leverage with land, not just working harder on it. Because the future of small farming isn't bigger, it's smarter. Now let's move from theory into structure. If a backyard farm is going to outperform 100 acres, it can't be random. It has to be designed intentionally, like an ecosystem built for cash flow. The biggest mistake small landowners make is trying to copy large farm models on a smaller scale. 1 or 2 cows, a few pigs, maybe a small chicken flock, but scaled-down commodity farming still behaves like commodity farming. Margins stay thin, feed bills stay high, cash flow stays slow. Instead, the backyard model has to prioritize 3 things: fast turnover, high-margin products, stacked systems. Let's build a hypothetical 1-acre layout, though this could be compressed even further. Start with something that produces weekly revenue: quail. Quail are ideal for small spaces. They mature in 6 to 8 weeks, they lay consistently, and their eggs sell at a premium in direct markets. If you maintain a flock of 300 laying hens, producing roughly 250 eggs per year each, that's 75,000 eggs annually. At even $5 per dozen direct to consumer, you're looking at over $30,000 gross from a footprint smaller than most backyards. Now, instead of buying full-price commercial feed, integrate black soldier fly larvae. A small system running on kitchen scraps, local food waste, and farm byproducts can replace a significant portion of purchased protein. That alone can cut feed costs dramatically. And if you produce surplus larvae, you sell that too. To backyard chicken owners, reptile keepers, even local farms. That's your first stack. Protein production feeding. Protein production. Next layer, rabbits. A compact breeding system of 20 to 30 does can produce hundreds of pounds of meat annually. Rabbits require little space, reproduce quickly, and sell well in health-focused and specialty markets. Add pelt sales, composted manure, and even breeding stock. Now you have multiple outputs from one enterprise. And here's where density matters. Rabbit manure drops directly into compost systems below hutches. That compost feeds microgreens or high-value garden crops. Those crops sell weekly at farmers markets or to restaurants. Waste greens feed rabbits, unsold scraps feed larvae. Now the system is cycling internally. Every square foot produces something. Every output has secondary value. Compare that to 100 acres running one enterprise. More land, yes, but also more fencing, more fuel, more exposure to market swings, more reliance on external inputs. The backyard system wins not by size, but by control, and control changes risk. When you rely on a single large enterprise, one bad season can hurt badly, but when income is split across eggs, meat, compost, larvae, and produce, volatility smooths out. If one dips, others carry the load. That's resilience. Now let's talk numbers realistically. Could a well-designed backyard system grow $75,000 to $100,000 annually? Yes, but not immediately. It requires pre-selling. It requires local demand. It requires marketing skill, and it requires disciplined scaling. This isn't passive farming, it's strategic farming. But once the relationships are built, chefs, repeat customers, CSA buyers, revenue becomes predictable. And predictability is power. The real advantage small land has over big land is agility. You can pivot faster, test markets quickly, adjust pricing without massive overhead dragging behind you. Large acreage farms move like cargo ships. Backyard systems move like speedboats. Now we need to address the part no one talks about. Because designing a stacked backyard system is one thing, making it produce full-time income without burning out is another. This is where most small farms stall. They build pieces of the system, but they don't build the revenue engine. Let's be clear, production does not equal profit. You can raise perfect quail, healthy rabbits, and beautiful microgreens, and still struggle if you're selling the wrong way. The backyard model only outperforms 100 acres when it controls the margin. That means direct to consumer first, not auctions, not wholesalers, not commodity buyers. Direct relationships, think about this logically. If you sell rabbit meat wholesale for $4 per pound, you need massive volume to survive. If you sell direct at $10 to $12 per pound, your acreage requirement drops dramatically. The same product, different positioning. Completely different income potential. The backyard advantage is proximity to people. You're close to neighborhoods, close to restaurants, close to farmers markets. That's leverage. A 100-acre rural cattle ranch might be 2 hours from its customers. But a half-acre near a suburban area can build a waiting list. Now let's break down a realistic stacking income model. Imagine this system operating at moderate scale. Quail eggs generating $2,500 per month. Rabbit meat and breeding stock generating $3,000 per month. Compost and soil amendments generating $1,000 per month. Microgreens or specialty produce generating $2,000 per month. Occasional larvae sales adding another $1,000 per month. That's roughly $9,500 monthly gross. Now subtract feed, bedding, utilities, and market fees. Even conservatively, there's strong room for net income, all from land smaller than a typical suburban property. Compare that to 100 acres running 40 head of cattle with thin margins and fluctuating feed prices. Scale is not safety, margin is safety. But here's the trap. When small farms start seeing demand, they often overexpand too fast. They add animals before building systems. They increase production before securing buyers. They take on debt for equipment they don't truly need. And suddenly, the low input model becomes input heavy. The goal is controlled density. Increase profit per square foot before increasing square footage. Add value before adding volume. That means branding matters. Presentation matters. Story matters. Customers don't just buy eggs. They buy local, they buy transparency. They buy connection. Large farms can't compete with that at scale. And there's another hidden advantage, shorter cash cycles. Cattle can take 18 to 24 months before sale. Quail lay in weeks. Rabbits turn over in months. Microgreens in days. Faster cash cycles mean faster reinvestment. Faster reinvestment compounds growth. That's how small land accelerates. Now, does this mean everyone with a backyard can instantly replace a full-time job? No. It requires discipline. It requires consistent marketing. It requires systems thinking, but the blueprint works. Here's the shift that makes all of this work long-term. The backyard farm that outperforms 100 acres doesn't think like a farmer first. It thinks like a systems designer. Most large acreage operations are built around production capacity. How many head of cattle per acre? How many bushels per field? How many tons per season? But small high-efficiency land is built around leverage. Every enterprise must either generate high-margin revenue, reduce input costs for another enterprise, or convert waste into value. If it does none of those three, it doesn't belong in the system. That's the filter, because once you apply that standard, the layout becomes simple. Quail generate weekly cash flow and high-margin eggs. Rabbits convert feed into premium protein while producing manure. Manure becomes compost. Compost feeds microgreens or specialty crops. Crop waste feeds larvae. Larvae reduce feed bills. Everything feeds something. Nothing stands alone. And that interconnected design is what 100-acre single enterprise farms struggle to replicate. They're optimized for scale, not stacking. Now here's the deeper truth. The advantage of small land isn't just economic. It's strategic freedom. You can pivot quickly. If egg demand slows, you expand meat production. If restaurants want specialty greens, you increase trays. If feed prices spike, you double down on waste conversion systems. Large farms can't pivot without massive operational shifts. Small systems can adapt in weeks, and in unstable markets, adaptability beats size. But the biggest difference of all? Mindset. The backyard system only works if you stop measuring success in acres. Stop asking, how big can I get? Start asking, how dense can I make this? Because profit density beats land size every time. 1 acre producing $80,000 with controlled inputs is stronger than 100 acres producing thin margin revenue dependent on global pricing. That doesn't mean large farms are wrong. It means small farms win by playing a different game. They win with margin, they win with stacking. They win with relationships, they win with speed. And most importantly, they win by staying low input and high leverage. If this changed how you think about land size and profitability, make sure you're subscribed. This channel is about building smarter systems, escaping commodity traps, and designing land that works harder than you do. Because the future of small farming isn't bigger fields, it's tighter systems. And if you're willing to think differently, small land might be your biggest advantage. Let me know in the comments. How much land are you working with right now?